The Geneva Agreement made provision for the establishment of a mixed commission, which sat from 1966 to 1970. And they had ample opportunity to prove the validity or the invalidity of the 1899 award. Instead, they promoted joint development. Not the first time. That's what they did in the mixed commission. The proposal for the joint development of the Esequibo was so frightening that Eric Williams went to his party, the PNM, and at the General Council, there's a famous speech, a threat to the Caribbean community.
One from 10 leaves not.
He said this thing is so frightening because the implications will be not only for Guyana, but for the rest of the region. By the way, I hope our bosses understand that if Guyana loses territory, Caricom as a whole, by definition, is also diminished. Not only in terms of the maritime boundary, but also in terms of the land boundary. I hope they understand. And that is what Eric Williams was saying. This thing is not only about Guyana. Because if Venezuela has its way, it's going to, once it gets the Esequibo, then the whole of the Eastern Caribbean is up for grabs.
Yeah.
They will already have Bird Island.
Bird Island is gone.
Which we sat down and allowed them to take. When I say we, I mean Caricom.
Yeah. And that has extended
Mr.
their maritime.
Scarrett, who is now preparing, one of the people preparing the meeting between President Ali and Mr. Maduro, he in 2006, when challenged about Bird Island, which is not very far off from Dominica, said there is nothing he can do. Now he's a big player in Alba and towing the Venezuelan line when necessary.
And the Venezuelan waters have been extended.
The point I'm trying to make here, my friend, and I don't know how well I can make it, is that this is a very, very serious moment in the history of our country and in the history of the border the history of the border controversy.
Jagdeo is on record as suggesting that Guyana should offer Venezuela an exit channel,
a corridor
to the Atlantic.
Well,
is Guyana paying the price for such loose talk by a head of state?
Well, I don't know. I've seen it, and I've seen Mr. Jagdeo in the video making the proposal, and I don't know if that was formally put to any to
whether formally put or not. It is in the public domain, and when we look at the map, and get a sense of where the Venezuelan naval vessel had to travel to get to where it engaged the oil and gas assets offshore Guyana. That corridor that Jagdeo was talking about had to be at the northwestern area.
Well, to be honest, I'm not so sure exactly what area he.
But it can only be there. It can't be anywhere else.
No, but I do agree with you that it's.
1 second, Ambassador.
Uh-huh.
Now, if Venezuela, at a time when it does not have Guyana's authorization to enter its waters, traversed all of that area, all of that maritime space from the northwestern tip of Guyana. If you're looking on your screen, viewers, it is that green line going up on the left hand of your screen. That line going up there, that is where Guyana's economic zone is located. I want to ask you to comment on the Minister of Home Affairs position.
Well,
his position on this matter is that we're going to shoot and scoot till help come. Outside of being absolutely ridiculous and out of place, senseless, I might add, does this gentleman believe that he's offering some kind of consolation, some kind of comfort to the citizenry when he says that this is what we'll have to do as a nation?
If I were the head of state, I wouldn't have left that to the Minister of Home Affairs. That is a particularly sensitive diplomatic matter. I don't think it is in our best interest to say that the governor is going to be based at Anna Regina, and if any one of our people is elected to become the governor, you're going to hang the person. That is rough stuff.
That's threatening your own instead of mitigating the threat against your country,
yes,
isn't it?
And I would have first of all educated those people before threatening them. And that is a point I think we've been belaboring for most of this this interview, is that you have a lot of work to do in terms of educating. I can ask you a question now. Are you comfortable or are you sure that those people have been briefed about what is the significance of a Guayana Esequiba? Even though this started in 2023, the organic law was passed in 23, the referendum was in 23. Have we done anything to say to those bordering communities, look, Mr. Maduro is going to do X, Y, and Z. If he does, he wants you to do A, B, and C to protect yourselves and to protect your country. Was that done?
Well, this is the burning question. I mean, recently I said to someone, if you ask the average minibus operator out there about this situation that Guyana faces regarding 5/8 of our territory, they will tell you they do not know. And they will not be lying or being disrespectful. They just do not know because the government of Guyana is not providing information. I'll give you a classic. Massive hullabaloo about $100,000 cash grant to every citizen in Guyana, 18 years and older. And until yesterday, nobody has visited the village of Kanashen or Mascaneri, the district of Kanashen. Nobody from government to tell anyone living in Mascaneri that they're entitled to a cash transfer of $100,000 each.
So it's unlikely they will have heard anything about Guayana Esequiba.
So they will have absolutely no knowledge about what's happening to our territory, the territory in which they live, the territory in which they own land, the territory in which they have established the only community-owned and operated conservation area in this entire country.
That is it is beyond a matter of concern. It is very worrisome. But I know, on the other hand, if I may say so,
sure,
my friend, that there's a lot of propaganda coming out of Venezuela targeting those communities. A lot of propaganda. Negative propaganda about Guyana.
Well, we've had our experience with the Rupununi uprising. Guyanese were, I believe, expelled.
Yeah.
Venezuela was
the heart.
Yes, Venezuela was instrumental.
No, but a diplomat was expelled from the embassy here,
right?
Because he helped to foment the insurrection.
Right. But have we not learned? Have we not learned as a nation from this? You alluded to it earlier. Now we're in a position where, and I like to use Kaikan as an example, because the village of Kaikan is separated from San Martin in Venezuela by a river. You spoke when this thing first happened about the need for an education campaign right here on this program. The government of Guyana listened to everything else we said here regarding engagements of the president and the leader of the opposition, what can flow from it, and points to note and so on. But no heed was paid to the call for an education campaign.
You still do not have a satisfactory education program. Again, they tell you're talking old time story, but you started at the primary school level. You got to the secondary school level, then you got to the university. those paradigms exist, but because the political relations in this country is so bitter and pernicious, if one side does it, it means automatically for the other side it has to be wrong. Now, Guyana has held America's interest because of the rate, the speed at which we're producing oil, and the effect it's having on the world market. And America has come out firmly in support of us, I think mainly because of its economic assets here. Now, I wouldn't like to be in a position to say that they're going to choose one over the other. What we must do is to so conduct our relations with the United States to make sure that our interests, especially as far as the border controversy is concerned, our interests are well protected. Now, I've seen a lot of letters and so on. One by Ravi Dev this morning talking about an American base in the Esequibo. The United States has been a diplomacy for a long time. And one of the first things that they would understand is that if you put a base on the soil of a country in the Latin American and Caribbean region, the whole continent will explode. Yankee imperialism.
Mm-hmm.
And even that would help Mr. Maduro get rid of some of his problems. So I don't know if I've given you a coherent or an understandable response to your question, but when it comes to the United States, as it is true for any major or big nation, we cannot put all of our eggs in one basket.